Yo, what's going on, guys? Dirca Monster here, and we're back once again with another Dirca deck. And today we're going to be taking a look at our Ramos Dragon Engine deck. This one in particular is a Lucky Charms deck. And before we get into it, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button if this is something that you're into, because we definitely have lots more of this to do and other ones that we've done in the past. But let's go ahead and get into it. So Ramos Dragon Engine is a 6-mana 4/4, and he's a legendary artifact dragon with flying. And whenever you cast a spell, put a +1 counter on this creature for each different color in that spell's cost. So if I cast a a spell that's 5 mana but costs 4 and a green, I get 1 counter. If I cast a spell that's all 5 colors, he gets 5 counters. Doesn't matter how much the spell costs, just how many colors are in the casting cost. And then you can remove 5 of those counters and add 2 white, 2 blue, 2 black, 2 red, 2 green, aka double Wooburg, to your mana pool, and you can only do this once a turn. However, if you return him to the battlefield, if you flicker him or anything like that, it counts as a new activation, so you can do it again. Now, this, I said, is a Lucky Charms deck. It's actually one that I got inspired by from Tomer over on MTG Goldfish when I first saw him make the deck, and I ended up with most of the cards, and I said, well, I feel like I have to build this. Disclaimer, it's not exactly good. It's kind of a bad deck, but it's kind of why you play it. It's fun. It's not a high power deck. It's pretty medium on the power scale. That being said, it's very fun, and it plays like a very spell slinger kind of deck. So what kind of spells do we cast? As I said, this is a Lucky Charms deck, so we play things like all of the charms, literally pretty much all of them. Rakdos Charm. This is 2 mana, and you get different things. That's the beautiful things about charms, is that they're so modal. You usually get 3 different options, and you pick one. Same thing with the Golgari Charm. But then we have things like the commands, like Silverquill Command. This is a card with 2 mana costs. 2 colors in the mana cost, and you get to choose 2 of these options. So that's the difference between the charms and commands. And we have things like the Celestia Charm and the Dromoka's Command. Dimir Charm, Silumgar's Command, the Zorius Charm, Ajutai's Command. You can kind of see I've done this for all the ones that I like or have. The Gruul Charm and the Atarka's Command. And with the addition of Strixhaven, we've gotten an increased card pool to choose from. So we have Boros Charm and the Lorehold Command. Izzet Charm, Prismari Command. And then we have a few other things that we can tie in here, like Growth Spiral. And then also Simic Charm, and Quandrix Command. Now, those are all 2 mana spells. 2 color spells. And so all of those will only put 2 counters on Dromoka. But we want more than that. So we have things like all of the charms that are 3 colors. Bant, Sultai, Cabaretti from the new oh god, I've already forgotten what that set is called. It's gone now, I can't remember. Streets of New Capenna. Streets of New Capenna set. Broker's Charm, Jund Charm, Privateer's Charm, Maestro's Charm, Wrist Charm, that's an old one. Temur Charm, Croesus Charm, an old one but with a reprint. We have the Dromar's Charm, Temur Charm, Naya Charm, Obscura Charm, Abzan Charm, Esper Charm, Grixis Charm, Martyr Charm, Duraga's Charm, Treva's Charm, and then we have a couple spells that are not charms. Not modal, but Crackling Doom. It's a Mardu spell, and it does a couple things. Deals damage to each opponent, and makes everybody sacrifice their biggest creature. Kind of a really, really nice inclusion. And then our 5 color spells kind of go off, especially this one. Unite the Coalition. It's a lot of mana, a lot of mana, 7, but you get all 5 colors. So if you have been casting spells and putting counters on Ramos, you take 5 counters off, get double Wooburg, spend 7 of it to play Unite the Coalition, and put 5 counters right back on. It's kind of nice. But this basically just does so many things that it's an auto include. You kind of have to. Now I've shown you all these different spells that cost different colors and all these things. What do we do with them? Well, we have things like mana cannons, which is probably the primary way to win the deck, or win with the deck. It's an enchantment for 3 that says whenever you cast a multicolored spell, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of colors that spell is. So all those 2 and 3s and even that 5 will all cause them to do damage. Now we can't just rely on doing it once every, here and there, chain things together just out of spells out of our hand, because that wouldn't be very efficient. So we combine this with our Arcane Bombardment. This is a 6 mana enchantment that says whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, exile a random one from your graveyard. Essentially, we kind of exile it underneath the bombardment. And then copy each card exiled with this enchantment. You may cast any number of the copies without paying their cost. So all these different charms, you'll exile them out of your graveyard, cast one other instant or sorcery of any kind, and then you'll get to cast all the ones that are exiled underneath this. So every turn it gets stronger and stronger. And the fact that these are instants, all these charms and things, makes it so that you could do it on your turn and get an exiled one and copy it, and then do it on their turn and do the same thing. So these together just kind of pop off and start pewing everything down. The other things we have are things like Hero Precinct 1, which says whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token. This is essentially your entire board, because we're a Spellslinger deck, so we don't really have much of a board. And then we also have Charmbreaker Devils. This is a 6 mana creature, 5 and a red for a 4/4 devil. Beginning of your upkeep, return an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand at random. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, this creature gets +4/+0. I had to double check. That last part, not super relevant, but it can be helpful. The important part is that it lets you just keep recurring things back to your hand to keep casting and then keep doing the thing. And then we have a couple different tutor packages. We have things like Bring to Light. Sadly, not the most powerful showcase for this card. 3 and then green-blue, and it has Converge. So Converge says it cares about how many colors are spent to cast this spell. Search your library for a creature, instant, or sorcery with converted mana costs less than or equal to the number of colors spent to cast this. And then exile it and you can play it for free. The idea is that we're usually, more often than not, going to use this to get some charm that would actually help in an instance. Something that would be useful, or go get a board wipe. If we spend 4 colors, we can get our 4 mana board wipes, or 4 mana board wipe, sorry. Or 5. I think we have a 5 cost one as well. We'll see. But yeah, it's not the greatest, but it's a thing. And then we have Conflux, which is a crazy card. Again, you can have 5 counters on Ramos, take 5 off to get the 10 mana, cast this, and get the 5 counters right back on. Plus you'll have a net of 2 mana. Search your library for a white, blue, black, red, and green card separately, and then put them all into your hand and shuffle. So this is essentially grab 5 different cards, tutor for 5 cards. And it's a great way to go get your enchantments and things, or one of the 2 enchantments, whichever one you're missing. It's a great way to get different charms to keep going. It's very, very powerful. And then we have the removal package. As we mentioned, we have a lot of board wipes. We have 3 board wipes. So we have the 4 mana Kaya's Wrath, white, black. So it puts 2 different counters on Ramos, because it's only 2 colors, even though it is 4 colored casting costs. I said it backwards at first. So only 2 counters, but it is all colored mana. This again, you can search up with Bring to Light should you need it. And it says destroy all creatures, you gain life equal to the number of creatures you controlled that were destroyed this way. Not super relevant, usually only gaining a couple, but better than none. And then we have Time Wipe. This is our 5 mana one, so we can also get this off of Bring to Light. 2 white, blue. Search a library. Search a library. That's Bring to Light. Right, coming to mind. Return a creature you control to your hand and then destroy all creatures. More often than not, we're doing that to Ramos, bouncing it back to our hand after we cash in all the mana. So you remove the 5 counters, get the 10 mana, cast this, bounce Ramos back to your hand, and then destroy all creatures. Use that 10 mana to cast Ramos again. And then we have Merciless Eviction. This is the 4 black-white sorcery that says choose one. Either exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, or exile all planeswalkers. It could be better if it was just Farewell, but this is 2 colors. I don't know. It's a thing. I kind of just went with it because I had it. But it's also a multicolored spell, so it triggers all of our things. And then we have our mana package because it's a 5-color deck, so you need a lot of that. And this card is probably one of the most underrated cards in the deck. Tome of the Guild Pack. 5 mana for an artifact that says whenever you cast a multicolored spell, draw a card. That's pretty much everything in the deck. There's only like 3 monocolored spells, besides all these mana rocks we're about to show. And then it says tap to add 1 mana of any color. And then we have Chromatic Lantern. Taps to add 1 mana of any color, and all your lands can tap for any color. Arcane Signet. This basically says tap for 1 of any color. Same thing with Commander Spear, but it also can be sacrificed to draw a card. Thought Vessel taps for colorless, but you have no maximum hand size. Paradise Druid. It's a mana dork that is hexproof as long as it's untapped, meaning it cannot be targeted by spells or abilities your opponents control, and then it can tap to add 1 mana of any color. And then we have Solemn Simulacrum. Enters the battlefield, go search the library for a basic land and put it on the battlefield tapped. And when it dies, you draw a card. And then in order to get some really good, well, why is this up here? No. Similar to that, I should say, is we have Steve. Search the library, sacrifice him, search the library for basic, and put it on the battlefield tapped. And then we have the 2 package of Cultivate and Kodamas Reach, which both say search your library for 2 basics, put 1 on the field tapped, 1 to your hand. And then we get to the card I was about to talk about. In order to search our library for the colors we're missing, since we're a 5-color deck, we have things like Farseek. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain. Basically, you can search your library for any card type other than forest. If it has forest on it, but it has one of these other ones, it works. And then in order to get our most important land, we have things like Tempt with Discovery. This is 4 mana and Tempting Offer. Search your library for any land card and then put it on the battlefield, not tapped. And then each opponent may do the same thing. And for each opponent that does, you get to do it again. So you're guaranteed 4 mana to just search your library for any land, put it on the battlefield, and your opponents can choose to do the same thing. If 1 person does it, you've gotten 2 lands total. If 3 people do it, you've gotten 4 lands total, and that's crazy. Some people just can't help themselves. Some people really, really need it. It's best when somebody is behind on mana and really, really needs that land. And then just to search out any land we need, immediately put it to our hand. We have Sylvan Scrying. Search the library for a land card, put it in your hand, and shuffle. Now, what is this land that we keep talking about that we really, really need? It is the World Tree. So this is a land that has battlefield tapped, taps for green, and then as long as you control 7 or more lands, all your lands can tap for any color, and then it has an activated ability that doesn't matter because we're never going to activate it. That's the important part. And then we have a plethora of our different slow fetches. We have Floodplain, and it's battlefield tapped. Then you can tap it and sack it, search the library for a plains or an island. Same thing for Rocky Tar Pit, but for a swamp and mountain. Grasslands for a plains and forest. And then Mountain Valley for a mountain and forest. And Bad River for a island and swamp. And then we have a few different options to go search up different cards with card types on them, or land types. We have Cinderglade, which is a mountain forest. Canopy Vista, which is a forest plains. Smoldering Marsh, which is a swamp mountain. And then we have Prairie Stream, which is a plains and island. And then we have Sunken Hollow, which is a island and swamp. And we have a couple backups that are not from this cycle that come in and stay untapped as long as you control 2 or more basics. We have some that just come in tapped, such as Haunted Mire, which is a swamp and forest, and Sacred Peaks, which is a mountain and plains. And then we have the ones that just tap for any color, such as Command Tower, Path of Ancestry, which if we cast a dragon, which we only have Ramos, we get to scry 1. Rupture Spire, enters tapped, and you have to sacrifice it unless you pay 1, but it taps for 1 of any color. And then we have all of the different 3-color lands, the Naya one, the Jund one, the Temur one, I'm sorry, not the Temur, the Sultai one, the Temur one, the Mardu one, the Jeskai one, the Abzan one, and the Esper one, and the Grixis one. And then we have a couple of different utility lands. Command Beacon lets us put our commander directly into play from the command zone, or taps for 1. And we have Reliquary Tower, which taps for a colorless, but you have no maximum hand size. And then we have the basic lands. We have 2 of each, 2 plains, 2 islands, 2 swamps, 2 mountains, and 2 forests. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the deck tech. If you liked anything you see, make sure you leave a follow on the video, or leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. And if you want to leave a comment on any card suggestions or questions on any of the ones that I chose, make sure you do so. And if you want to see more, we have a playlist with all the previous ones, and we plan to do these every other week. If you want to catch these decks live, we play every Saturday on the Twitch channel at Dark Monster on twitch.tv. And that's about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I will catch you guys in the next one.